crazy culture where feminism is going to try and convince men and women that men want ugly butch women and that women want to be ugly and butch, but that's just not the case. Growing up apparently is realizing that men want beautiful women, and that's okay. Men also want kind women. Men also want competent women, and every woman is capable of being the most beautiful, most competent, most kind version of herself. Most women just don't want to do the work to get there, and feminism tries to give lazy women a pass and say, oh, you don't have to do that work. And then feminism also tries to demonize men for having preferences about the women that they want. Work hard, women. Be beautiful, women. Be kind, be feminine. And men, you can want what you want, and that's okay. I don't know why that's controversial.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Jared, and with my main man Mike, we're coming coast to coast with the 511 Morning Show. So happy for you guys to be here today. We have an amazing guest, and we're going to get right into it. So guys, today we have Lily Kate. She grew up homeschooled in a Christian and classically educated in Texas. She's a TPUSA ambassador, a PragerU influencer, and a host of Sanity Check on the Trenches. She's also CEO of Victory, a social media management company, and she's passionate against fighting against radical feminism. She speaks about a plethora of topics such as traditional values, modern day dating, cultural issues, freedom, Christian living, fighting feminism, and respecting your embracing your feminism and masculinity. She's been on TPUSA Live, Plays TVs, Newsmax, and Rave. She has over 300,000 social media followers. I know a lot of you watching are following. If not, you should. And she's one of the leading female voices of Generation Z. So everyone, welcome Lily Kate to the show.
Thank you for that intro. I'm excited to be here.
What's up?
Yeah, I'm extremely excited that you're here. I think the last time I saw you, you were at Believer Summit, and you were on that amazing panel with Savannah Morgan and Victoria Robinson. It was fantastic.
Oh, thank you. Yes, it's always a privilege to see another feminine woman on stage.
Yeah, and as I was going through your content, Lily, I saw the video, and I was like, that in my mind, and you could tell me if you're way off base, dude. In my mind, I was like, that I think embodies kind of your messaging and a lot of it. And I love the fact that a young Gen Zer, and I mean, I still consider myself young, but then I look at look at you, Lily, and I'm like, oh, you're definitely younger than me. Somebody in the Gen Z early 20s that has the convictions you have for Christ, the convictions you have for morals and values, and making traditional femininity, not feminism, a popular thing again. And I I've had conversations with my wife about this, and she's definitely someone who identifies as, I think women, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Lily, because I obviously can't speak from a woman's perspective, but I can speak from my wife's conversation, and I have all the time. They're looking for a manly man, but there's too many beta males out there that don't know how to fill that role. So a lot of the women have stepped up, and we've got mixed up gender ideologies and all this stuff. And I love that you're someone who, frankly, for your what do they call it? Generation, I guess, is kind of countercultural. And that's what the Bible calls us to be, countercultural, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah, the Bible calls us to be countercultural. So I see this issue of masculine women kind of because of two major reasons. One, there are, like you said, no masculine. So the women have to feel like they have to step into that masculine role. Of course, that's a lie. The only thing that inspires men to be masculine is women being more feminine. So women believe this idea that if I'm just more masculine, then that will inspire that in him and it'll get things done. That's just not true. But the other reason why I see masculinity portrayed in women is because of feminism. Feminism started as a reaction to changes in the economy because of urbanization and industrialization. And for the first time, the economy was not centered around the home. So women had this question, well, if I'm not contributing to the world, to society in the same way that I thought that I was, what is my purpose? What am I doing here? What is my role? And then quickly, because of the Industrial Revolution, all tasks that were traditionally women's tasks were given to machines, and they were all made into, you just press a button and then all of a sudden that task is done for you. So super interesting how feminism started as a reaction and started as a question, but now it's turned into this movement that tells women, if you are not contributing to the economy, if you are not masculine, if you are not all of these things, then your value to society is zero. And in fact, you have to have 100 zeros in your bank account, following a big number. You have to have a masculine approach to the world. You have to have a way that you dominate over men to be valuable. So simultaneously, women are believing that they have to be masculine to inspire men, but also feminism is reinforcing this lie by telling them they have to be masculine.
It's funny you say that, and as someone who's been married, and I was talking to our good friend Renata this morning, and I was saying, like we're getting close to 20 years. My wife and I have been together, almost as long as you've been alive, Lily. And I was like, like my wife is definitely falls into the like very supportive, very feminine. But not like in a Karen kind of like, let me be very vain. And, she rarely goes and gets her nails done, though she's an incredibly beautiful woman. And I think you'll see that when you get to meet her, Lily. But she's not, she's not driven by, let me go and do all these things that all the other women are doing. Let me get my nails done every week. Let me, she's just not into that. Right. And I know for me, I've always been a very, of course, I'm kind of borderline Gen X millennial, and my generation was kind of more of the masculine, kind of almost the last of the more masculine men, right? Not that there aren't any, because we're definitely raising our boys to be that. But for me, I see a woman like that, I'm like, I don't want nothing to do with that. And never did. And it wasn't as prevalent back then either. But I say back then, it wasn't that long ago. But
right.
I keep trying to date myself, but
no worries. Well, it comes from Genesis 3. I mean, all the way back in the beginning. So when Adam and Eve, they eat the fruit, sin comes into the world because of rebellion against God. You look in Genesis 3 and 4, and God is laying out the curse that is going to be on specifically man and specifically woman. And, when I was homeschooled, like it said in my bio, and when my mom was reading that to us as homeschool kids, she was like, oh, well, Adam has to work and then Eve's going to have pains in childbirth. And it's like, okay, to a little kid's brain, that makes sense. I'm like, oh, that's bad. Dad works. Mom said it was very painful to have kids or whatever. I'm like, okay, I got it. But if you go back and read it, you realize that when you get to the part with Eve's curse, right before the pains in childbirth section, there's a part that says your desire will be over or to control or for your husband. And I was reading that by the pool one day, and I thought it was just so interesting that all feminism does is fight against marriage, fight against the idea of a woman yielding to a man's leadership or to any structure of authority or hierarchy at all in, society at large. And it rebels against any type of masculine headship in any institution. So I thought that was really interesting because I find that feminism is the institutionalization rather of Eve's curse. So Eve's curse is to always want to dominate, to revolt against, to be on top of, to manipulate over the husband or man in general. And that's just something that Eve, for all of human history, has had to contend with. What is the balance between being feminine and true to your nature as a woman, your biological nature as a woman, but then there's tension because your desire is to be over, is to control, is to micromanage, is to pick at him, is to dominate over him. But feminism says, no, it doesn't matter what your calling as a woman is. It doesn't matter what God's structure that he's laid out for the family is. It doesn't matter what societal institutions have done and what has worked for thousands and thousands of years. Actually, you need to be liberated. You need to be free. And what that looks like is you have to be masculine.
Let me ask you a question, Lily, because again, we have this conversation in my house all the time, and I praise God that one, my wife and I were from the beginning raising our kids to be Christian, and they're 11, 9, and 6, and they're, I would say, more intelligent, and they're homeschooled, by the way, too.
Good for you.
Yeah, no way we're sending them public school, not especially in California. But uh, they are very intelligent. They've actually, my daughter went with us to Believers Conference, so she was thrilled. She has been begging to go to conferences for a while, and she got to see Trump speak, and that was like her favorite part. She was thrilled about that. But they're more intelligent than a lot of people. Even your age, even college educated people, and I'm not lumping you into that bucket because you obviously are an outlier. But
well, and I didn't go to college, so I have that going for me.
Okay, so we'll go here, and then I'm like derailing the conversation, but we're just having a conversation. We're being real right in front of you guys. So if you guys don't like it, like I say all the time, I don't care. I mean, I do care, but I don't care, right? Jared's gonna get all over me for saying that, but at the end of the day, guys, I'm having a conversation here, and Lily, like, I felt like at the time, and actually Charlie wrote a book about this, and I didn't even know it, but Renata was telling me. And guys, if we could drop the link for the book, by the way, since I mentioned it, so they have it. But I felt like when I was at that college age, I really wanted to go. And then God told me, no, I don't want you to go because I don't want you to be, brainwashed and indoctrinated into this liberal society because I have a different plan for you. And so I definitely believe that college isn't for everybody. But as I've talked to my wife about this topic, she's told me women are looking for a masculine man to lead them. They're looking for somebody to step up. And I know a lot of the people my age are already married or because we've allowed some of this stuff, and this isn't always the case, right? But we've allowed the roles to get kind of reversed, whether you're transgender or not. I've seen it in Christian homes. I've seen it in conservative Christian homes. We've allowed the roles and the positions to get mixed up, and a lot of times that's I've never thought about this super critically like I am right now, but I think that a lot of times that is what leads to the high divorce rates as well, because the woman is leading the man, and the man is meant to be the head of the household.
That's exactly true. It leads to a lot of divorce, unfortunately. And, what is the stat that over 50% of marriages end in divorce or something? Very, very high stats. And yes, a feminist woman will deny and deny and deny that she wants a masculine man. And she's also looking, again, biologically, for someone who can provide for her, someone who can make her feel secure and safe. And feminism says, no, you don't want all of those things, actually. You want to provide them for yourself. You want to create them for yourself. And that is just not the nature of a woman. And so the thing that I hate most about feminism, and I use that word very, very intentionally, because I think hating things is not very good for your soul, but we all are called to hate evil. And feminism lies to women on every front and tricks them into thinking that they want to be masculine. So you have these women who unfortunately are getting their tubes tied and they're 40 years old and they've pursued a career in HR or PR somewhere at a firm that's not going to exist in 10 years. And they've achieved everything that they possibly could have wanted to, but they come home to an empty house. They come home to a bunch of cats, just like JD Vance is getting attacked for saying right now, but it's true. These women have been tricked into this materialist lifestyle that is not qualitative, that is not joyful, no matter how much you're pushing that Kamala Harris is the embodiment of joy, okay? It's not a joyful lifestyle. And that's truly what I despise most about feminism, is that it takes a woman from her biological nature and puts her into, essentially, she's a circle in a square shaped hole. I mean, it just doesn't work. And so, what that does to marriages is when a woman is put in a position of leading a household, that is not naturally what she craves to do. She will begin to resent her husband. She will begin to resent her job, all the things that she has to do to keep the family functioning, because it's not in her nature to do so. And she's not going to know why she's resenting it. She's going to say, well, it's because he doesn't clean up after himself. It's because he doesn't make enough money. All these external things she's going to look for, but truly she is looking for someone that she can rely on and feel secure, that she can relax and be in her feminine state and be fully feminine because he is fully masculine.
Because
I love that you bring up these topics and we talk about this. And I have noticed this stuff too, like especially when it comes to dating. Like my niece, she dates this strong Christian conservative kid, so it's great. But I worry about my daughter, who's 15 in high school. And she has crushes and things like that. But then she tells me all the boys are sus because she thinks they all like each other. So this is the type of stuff that she's dealing with when she goes to school. So as a parent with a teenage daughter, how do I keep her on the right path to be proud of what a woman is capable of doing, but not being tricked by feminism?
Mm. Yeah, the way that you do that is you don't tell her what your perception of femininity is. And so what I mean by this is I grew up in a very traditional homeschool community, and they're wonderful. The thing that I identified at a very young age, though, is that a couple of them, not the ones that I was a lot close to, but like the stereotype, they had this idea of what femininity was, and that if a woman went away from that specific outline, then she was not feminine. So what do I mean by that? Well, a lot of hyper legalistic Christian types can say, well, if she doesn't have 11 kids, which by the way, I want to have 11 kids. I want to have so many kids. Oh. I want to have so many kids. But if she doesn't have that many kids, if she's not barefoot and pregnant all the time, if she's not wearing a floral dress to her ankles all day, every day, if she has a bad day where she's not wearing enough makeup or her hair is not done, then she's not feminine. And that is just so completely untrue. The reason I can say that is femininity is expressed by way of your personality. I mean, there are billions and billions of people on the earth. Not one of them has the exact same carbon copy personality. So femininity might look different expressed by woman A than it does by woman B. Femininity is the expression of goodness, truth, and beauty from a woman. It doesn't mean you have to dress a certain way. It doesn't mean you have to look a certain way. Now, there are things that more feminine women embody and look like. Typically, they'll have long hair. Typically, they won't wear pantsuits. Typically, they won't be aggressive and brutish and all those things. But saying that femininity has to look a certain way is something that a lot of women are deterred by, because feminism has taken over the room in the messaging that says you can look however you want to look. Well, here's the thing. To be truly feminine, you just have to aim for beauty. And every woman is beautiful. Every woman, like I said in the intro video, has the capability to be the most beautiful, most competent version of themselves. It doesn't have to look the same way that maybe a Joyce Myers looks, or the same way a Christine Kane looks, or the same way a Candace Owens looks. They all are feminine, but in their own different way. So the way that you inspire femininity in the girls of our generation is you just tell them to be beautiful, to strive for beauty, because that way she will be adored by the men in her life and they will step up to the plate to be more masculine for her. It really comes from a place of beauty and goodness and truth.
Well, I also think that it makes it a lot easier if you have, like my wife in our home, and we do very much, live the traditional roles, right? My wife is like, I could go on. I'm trying. I got to reel myself in because I could go on and on about just how amazing my wife is. But that's not what this show is about. But she sets the example, right? And I think it's important to make a point, and this is kind of coming to my heart as I'm saying all this stuff. Women, and Lily, you feel free to chime in here, but women, your role is to show a daughter what a mother and a wife is supposed to be. And men, your role is to show your boys what a husband and father is supposed to be, but also show your daughter what a true man is supposed to look like. So both roles, I think, are vitally important. And I would venture to guess that you had very great parents, Lily, as well, because it's hard to raise a daughter as great as you are, as I can tell just from the outside and everything I've heard, because I've heard a lot of things from many people, without having, and not that it's impossible, because I have plenty of friends who are in single parent homes. I have plenty of friends who have raised phenomenal kids under those circumstances. So don't hear what I'm not saying. What I am saying is it definitely makes it easier if you're the man and you're a single parent. With Jared, I know, is living this lifestyle, because it's been thrust upon him. Be that example of what a man is to be in your daughter's life. As a if you're a single parent and you're a woman, be that example of what a woman's supposed to be like. And I think that it's up to us as parents to embody that for our kids. And I also think, from going on what you were saying, Lily, you're talking about femininity and feminism, and Satan always takes the thing that God meant for good and perverts it and creates almost a mirror opposite of what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah, it's exactly true. And for the record, I grew up in a great household, great parents, very masculine dad, feminine mom. So I had a great example of what that is supposed to look like in a healthy marriage. But what you're saying about dads specifically and their impact on girls is so important. The reason we have such crazy hookup culture today is because dads have not given their daughters the self-esteem that they need. A girl will protect her purity if her dad tells her and empowers her and shows her that she is valuable and she is worth protecting. So depending on how well a girl is protected in her life and how well she is loved by her dad is how she's going to act and what standards she's going to have in her relationships in the future. And the same goes for a mom's relationship with her son, but it's not as stark. You see girls, it's always the ones with daddy issues who end up on OnlyFans. It's always the ones who have terrible relationships with their dads who end up whoring themselves out on social media. That's a very aggressive term, but it's true. I mean, girls are using social media to get the attention that they didn't get from their dads. And that's why they do it, because they feel like they're going to be loved and adored because they didn't have that need filled when they were a little girl by a strong, loving father in the home. So it's very, very important that parents love their children well, because that way, intrinsically, your kids will understand what respectively femininity for girls and masculinity for guys is, because it's in our nature. I keep coming back to this idea of nature. The nature of a woman and the nature of a man are very different. And if we are secure and loved well as we are children, then we will necessarily go into the natural nature that we have, and we will live much more agreeable lives within ourselves, and much more flourishing lives and more feminine and more masculine lives because we were loved well as children.
Got me. I know my wife has been kind of an outlier in that. And I'm not going to go into detail on that, but she didn't grow up in the same kind of a household I did. But yet she's still, and this is I think an important note to say. Hey, Brock, this is an important note to say, that just because you grow up in not the same home that I grew up in, not the same home that Lily grew up in, doesn't mean that you can't become who God designed and intended you to be. It
100%.
also doesn't mean that if you're raising your children in the home that you wish you had both parents in, but for whatever reason it didn't go as planned, that you can't still raise good godly children that do fall into those roles.
That is so.
Go ahead, Jared.
That's so true. But as a single parent, a lot of you know I've been raising my kids by themselves since they were 2 and 4. Now they're 17 and 15. They're amazing kids. They love the Lord. They know God. They're great community activists. They're hardcore conservatives. But I know 110% if I had a mother in the home, it would have been a lot better for them. So even if you're a single parent and you're raising your children well, you have to admit to yourselves that the family nuclear structure is better long-term for your children. So even if they don't have that growing up, you need to let them know this is what they need to aspire to when they're older, you know? And I think a lot of times now kids don't even want to get married. It feels like Generation Z is like, I don't want to get married. Lily, do you understand, do you have a reason why it seems that they're so scared of like commitment to each other?
Because commitment is a hard thing. It's a very hard thing. You want to take the easy route. You want to have a plethora of options at all times. Let's just take like a grocery store, for example. Okay. If I go into an aisle and there's 4,000 variations of mayonnaise, and each one promises that it's going to be better than the next, I'm not going to have any idea which one to choose. Now, I'll probably just go for the old reliable brand that I know, but say you don't have any context of tradition or any old reliable brands or anything to lean on, right? I'm going to have paralysis and not be able to commit to one jar of mayonnaise. It's the same thing with the dating pool today. And this is the largest effect that social media has had on dating. It's the second you're in a relationship, you're inundated with girls in bikinis on your, if you're a guy, on your home feed. You're inundated with relationship videos talking about how, oh, my relationship does this, my relationship's better than yours. Oh, this girl's hotter than the girl you have. This girl's cuter than the girl you have. This girl's less crazy than the girl you have. And unfortunately for men, it's hard to commit because there's always the potential of more options out there. And that's why women need to be so much more real, so much better in person, so much more captivating and beautiful that we destroy all the other competition that's online that's begging for our boyfriend's attention. For example, I am in a very serious relationship right now, and it's very quickly heading toward marriage. And, at the moment we started dating, I asked him, I said, just out of respect for me, would you go unfollow all those girls from high school that are living the party lifestyle, that are posting inappropriate pictures of themselves? Because I don't want you seeing that for your own soul, but also I don't want to feel degraded in this relationship because you are looking at those kinds of things. Not in an intentional way, but just because that's just what's in his home feed. And obviously Instagram and TikTok know that he's a guy, so they're going to feed him more soft pornographic content anyway, because that's how social media algorithms work. So that's just one step that we took in our relationship. And I don't follow a whole lot of like models, male models on my social media. I mostly follow political stuff. But, if there's anything that comes up that I'm like, hey, this is tainting my view of my in-person real life relationship because this weird idea of what a relationship should be online, I need to cut that out. So one way that Gen Z are so afraid of commitment is because we are constantly always being marketed something better girlfriend, better boyfriend, better relationship, better lifestyle. And we don't want to sit with our own and make our own work and make it beautiful, even when we have something so good. So one piece of advice that I'd love to give to like every woman who's actually in a relationship, don't be afraid to ask him, like, okay, if you're interested in committing to this relationship, like, I want to see it reflected in who you're following on your social media. Like, I get that if you're following professional women on LinkedIn for whatever, but I don't want to see you following models. I don't want to see you scrolling other social media apps, looking at other women. Like, that's just not appropriate. So again, but girls have to hold the men to that standard, because it's about our hearts and our purity that we're trying to protect by way of protecting his eyes and his heart as well.
Yeah, and guys, the thing that I would add to that is, and you guys take this for what it will, but I've always made a point to make sure my wife had the code to my phone. She's even got the Face ID, everything, all the passwords, because I never want her to ever have to ask. I never want it to get to a point where she's wondering. If she's wondering, go check for yourself, because I'm not hiding a single thing. So I want to encourage all you guys, like, if you can do that, do that. But I know we got to get, Lily has some appointments to get to. But before we do, I want to take like the next 30 seconds, and then I'll let you go first, and then Jared and I can add to it. But Lily, how is your dad? And I can answer as a dad, and I know Jarrett can answer as a dad. But Lily, how did your dad instill that into you and spend time with you and show you what a real man is supposed to be like when you were growing up?
Oh my gosh. Well, the first thing my dad did, which is very unusual, is he's a lawyer, okay? And he could have gone to work every day and made millions and millions and millions. But instead, he decided that he wanted to work from home. So before working from home was a thing, he went to his company and was like, if you want to hire me, I'm working from home because I want to be around my family. So my dad, he has this big, like medieval looking office with all these books. And 5:01 on the dot, we would be beating down the door trying to hang out with him. So that was really sweet. He was able at lunch breaks to come out and work with and talk with us and be with us as kids. So my dad was very, very present, more present than a lot of other parents get the privilege of being, and other kids have the privilege of being. And he's a very generous person. He is always generous with his time, with his resources, and he's always generous with sharing information. We're a highly creative family, so we did a lot of art projects and building and creativity and a lot of things like that together. So I think just the way he loved his family so well was deciding intentionally that he would rather make less money and be home than go off into the big city, make millions, and then come home at 7 p.m. and have to do it all again the next day. And we've never wanted for anything on top of that, which has been really just such a blessing for the family. But he chose to be with us as opposed to not with us.
Yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing. Guys, I'm going to take a minute and answer this question, and I'm going to have Jared answer this question in just a second. But before we do, Lily, I know we're going to be talking between now and then, but guys, if you guys want to see Lily, me, Jared, and several other of our friends in very soon in person, we're going to be going to an event in December, and I'll play a quick video for y'all. And while we do this, Lily, thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for having me. It's an honor. Appreciate you guys, and I'll see you in December.
Present your presence here at the largest multi-day event in conservative grassroots history. Is a message that will be heard by these people. Phoenix, Arizona, people from all over the country. It's remarkable because it brings everybody
One of
together.
my favorite of the year.
Energy, let this want you to see it. Stakes are high. We have only begun to fight.
Guys, we're going to be there in December 19th through 22nd, Phoenix, Arizona. Go check it out right now because the tickets are the best price they're ever going to be. Is it 50% off, Jared?
Yep, early bird special.
50% off early bird registration. I'm going to be there. Jared's going to be there. Renata's going to be there. Most of our team's going to be there. Brock Easley, thank you for being one of our biggest supporters, by the way, brother. He's going to be there. Guys, go check it out. We're going to drop the link online, and team, if we could drop the video too, because I know sometimes on the live feed it doesn't come through as clearly. If y'all want to see that, you can also go check it out at amfest.com. But we have one more announcement that we're also going to be at another event coming up very, very soon in Philadelphia, and I'm gonna let Jared announce this one.
So, guys, coming September 14th in Philadelphia is Blexit Night of Faith. It's going to be amazing. It's from 5 to 7. It's going to be praise and worship. Some great panel of speakers, including Topher, Madeline Brame, Michaela Montgomery. You might have seen her recently all over the news. She's been at the RNC. I mean, she's been everywhere, guys. You're going to have tons of people who are at the RNC coming to speak at this event. We're giving back to the community. It's going to be an amazing time. Great food, great time. I'm going to be there. Mike's going to be there. Renata's going to be there. So you guys come check us out. And I'm going to have an amazing pastor roundtable beforehand at 4 p.m. So if you're interested, reach out to us and I'll send you an invite.
About how as dads we can be the example to our daughters, and I'm gonna just kind of share with you my heart. And you know what's funny is we usually start this show with a monologue, and I guess this is my version of the monologue, unplanned, unscripted. Guys, you know I speak from the heart most of the time, And but guys, first of all, the first thing you do, and this just came to me as I was saying this. Sometimes I feel like I'm inspired by the Lord. Hopefully, sometimes, but love your wife. Love your wife first and foremost, and show your daughter what an example of a man who is masculine and knows how to be a man's man also can love from the bottom and the depth of his soul. Show your daughters what that looks like, and wives, I want to just appreciate you, and it's hard for me not to get emotional when I think of my wife, and I know Lou Davy is probably out there watching, and she's like, Mike, shut up. But I if you guys can love your bride as Christ loved the church, and I know everybody likes to underscore, well, it says they're to submit to their husband. Yeah, the first part of that says love your wife as Christ loved the church. Christ loved the church so much that he died for the church. He died for you and me. So that means that both physically and metaphorically, we're to lay down our life. So that means sometimes we give up the things that we want. Sometimes we give up the things that we want to do. That's, I think, one of the biggest, number one things that you can do for your daughter is to love her mama. And guys, it's it's hard for me not to get emotional. Thank you, Kent, and I love you, brother. But when I speak about my wife, but number two, and this is important to me because of reasons, and I'm not going to get into that because I haven't talked to my wife for permission to get into some of the reasons yet. But I make a point to show my daughter exactly what a man's supposed to be, and I go out of my way to spend time with her. I look forward to coming home every day, and my boys do the same thing. But if you're a dad of boys and girls, you know that there's a big difference between the two. And I know Kent and brother, you're one of these two. But my daughter's something special to me. And when I come home, she comes running. She's 9 years old, and she still comes running. And I've made it a point that I don't care how old she gets. I don't care what goes on in her life. I'm still going to be her daddy. And I'm not only going to show her what a man looks like, but I'm going to show her mama how a daddy loves his daughter as well. And so we do things on the regular, and it's not scheduled, but I make a point to do it. I make a point, just like Lily said, to be present for my family, to set aside time. So I take my daughter on dates. I take my daughter with me on trips. I spend time one-on-one, and our friend Boomer, and some of you guys know Boomer Bennett, Turning Point Faith. He did a video the other day braiding his daughter's hair. It's okay sometimes to do the girly things with your daughter and still be a man. If my daughter came to me, I might resist a little bit, but at the end of the day, if she wanted to do something like paint my nails, I'm like, all right, babe, I guess I'll let you paint my nails. Be there with her. Show her what true love looks like. I spend time almost every night sitting on the edge of her bed and just having conversations. My daughter has so many questions. And if I'm not sitting there answering those questions for her, who is? I know my wife's there and doing that. But aside from that, she's asking the questions. So if I'm not answering them, somebody is. And it's probably a peer, and even though they may be a good person, they may be a good kid, they may come from a good family, they're probably not given the right answers. So for me, what does it look like to show my daughter what a man is? Being there for her, being present, just like Lily said, being making appointments to take her on a date. I take mom on dates, but I also take my daughter on dates. I also take my boys out too. We do stuff. And then being just available emotionally, available spiritually, available mentally, and available physically, all of the areas, so that we can pour into the daughters, because they're the next generation. And Jared, I didn't mean to go down this diatribe, or whatever the proper word for this is, but I just felt like speaking from the heart of, guys, this is how we take America back, really. we have somebody running for office, and we talk about politics a lot on this show. But at the end of the day, how do we make America great again? How do we make the world great again? By being the men and the women God's called us to be. And Jared, I'm gonna let you speak now, brother.
Amen. That is so true. You know what? I was lucky enough and blessed enough to have like a TV dad. Like my father was like Uncle Phil and Carl Winslow all wrapped into one. So he had tough love, but he was always there for you. I mean, to the point when I was an adult, he was always there for you. I used to take these long drives and I would just like get so bored. And, you know, I would call my dad, and no matter where I was in the world, he would always answer me, no matter what he was doing. Either it's like, so I could talk to you in a few minutes, but he always made time to make sure I was okay. And that's something that once you see yourself, you want to do for your kids. You're inspired to be like that for your kids. So again, just spend time with them, be there for them, communicate with them, but communicate with them on their level. You know, I have a group text with my kids, and we send each other stupid memes and comments and stuff like that, just because that's what the kids are doing. They're texting. Or we're sitting down, if, you know, my daughter's in the living room, I'll just sit down and ask her what she's doing. We'll have a conversation about roadblocks. Nothing serious, just a regular conversation, just to engage, because these are the moments that remember. These are the times they're going to care about. You know, you can go on fantastic vacations, take them to Disney Worlds, take them all across the planet, but they're going to remember those times that you sat on a couch and ate popcorn and watched your favorite movie. They're going to remember those times that you took them in the yard to show them how to mow the grass. They're going to remember those times where you sat out there and watched the car and sprayed them with the hose. You know, those are the core memories that they're going to have and going to live with them. And these are the memories as a father that if you're not there for your child, that you're stealing from yourself. You know, we always talk about the child's memories, but dads, you know, I know a lot of dads who weren't there for their kids, and their kids are grown now, and they regret every moment of their life because they weren't there for them, because you can't get that time back. And the kids, you know, they might learn to respect you or even talk to you, but they're going to regret and feel bad that my father wasn't there for me because their father was too busy being a child himself. You got to realize once you have a child, it's time to grow up, regardless of what society says, regardless of whatever toys or action figures you want to collect. When you become a father, you put childish things away and you raise your kids, because that's your most important job you'll ever have in the world. Forget politics, forget everything else in the world. The most important job you will ever have is being a father, because it's your job to protect your household and leave your family to Christ.
Yeah, amen, brother. And guys, you know, I'm thinking about you know, the direction we've been headed and the direction of our country, and this is the thing that's missing, right? The thing that's missing is dads being in the home, and it's one of the biggest things we can do. Guys, I can't say enough about this, because it's the most important thing in my life is being a dad. And it's funny, Jarrett, how I grew up the moment I had kids, right? And you know, the other thing I think is important, and it's a balance, right? It's not easy being a dad. It's, if you're doing it well, it's not easy. Sure, it's easy to father children. It's not the same thing. It's not easy being a dad. And nothing in life is ever easy that's worth doing. The Bible never said it was going to be easy. In fact, the Bible said it was going to be tough. But the toughest things in life are the things that have the most meaning. So, guys, I want to encourage you as your fathers. And Jared, I don't know, I feel inspired from time to time, but I think we might have some resources with Turning Point. If not, maybe 511 should put something together. But I know all across the country, guys, there's men's retreats. I talked to our brother Kenton. He's working with his church on a big men's retreat that's coming up. We have a men's retreat with our church that's coming up. Guys, get around other men, because you need to be filled up too. Because, yeah, exactly, Kenton. Stand up and be men. Stand up, yes, and be who God's called us to be. Because our time here on this earth is not very long, whether that means Christ coming back. There's debates and disputes about that. We all know that it's getting darker. But just in general, the lifespan, our time to invest in our children is short.
And I love that you said our children, because a lot of men and a lot of women forget they're not just a mother's children. they're your children too. So if you're going through a divorce or a custody battle, I'm sorry that you're going through that. We'll pray for you. But remember, those are still your kids too. They need to see you, regardless of what, and again, this is how society had got everything shaped up. Regardless of what the woman says, that you can't come see your kids because she wants more money or she wants this, she wants that. No, you have the right to see your children, and do not stop seeing your child because you're scared of what's going to happen in that relationship. Regardless of how your relationship goes with your wife or your baby mother or whatever, you need to be there for that child, because that's a separate relationship. So that's something you guys got to realize. Some women won't do that. They're like, if you're not with me, you can't be with the kids, such and such. Don't fall for that. I see too many guys, especially minority guys, who do not go see their kids because they're worried about the outcome of that potential relationship. That's not what they're here for, guys. Like, if your relationship falls to sunder or falls apart, you still need to be a father to that child. And if your ex-wife or the mother of your child is keeping you away, you have legal recourses. You can get a lawyer. You can go to court. You can fight for your child. I know it's messy. I know it gets people upset, but you have this right, and it's better to try to be in your child's life than to totally disappear because you're scared of the court system, or you won't man up and pay your child support. Guys, the courts are not built right now for men to get custody. We'll be frank. Less than 8% of men have full custody of their children, right? But you can get joint custody. Most states have joint custody, and you just have to go and apply, right? So you can see your children. Stop making excuses.
Yeah. And, I'm thinking about so many things that we're saying this, but the one thing that I think is another important factor is, guys, stop giving up on your dreams. Keep pursuing your dreams. Keep pursuing your calling, because we need to show our kids what that looks like to continue to pursue that. And I know it gets tough. I know when we have family obligations and we have life weighing us down, we have work weighing us down, we got all the bills, the economy, who's gonna be elected, all these things. It's easy to get discouraged. It's easy to get down. But there's so many factors to unpack in this, Jared. I think we might even want to do a panel on this, guys. If you're interested in us doing a panel on how to be stronger men, like, let us know in the comments, and we'll do that. But we're gonna and one of the big areas is the decrease in testosterone. Lily brought up about the pornography, and they shove that in your face all the time on social media. We're going to be talking tonight with my buddy. If you guys want to join us, we're going to be doing a live stream with my buddy Steve Southers, and we're going to be talking about testosterone and supplementation and all that stuff when it comes to the physical side. But the decrease in testosterone, a lot of that, frankly, in my opinion, I'm not a doctor, but I have common sense and I have observations. A lot of that is coming from the pornography. A lot of that's coming from being beat down by all the stuff that we were talking about with Lily earlier also. But guys, don't stop showing your kids what it looks like to pursue God, number one, and two, the calling that he has for your life. Because they're looking to you to not just be an example of what a man is, not just be an example of what a husband is or a father, but to be an example of someone that walks with God and lives in their calling.
Yes, so true. And understand the other people that you influence. Like, my father was also like the neighborhood father. So when he passed, last week would have been 3 years. So it's been 3 years since he passed. There were so many kids from the neighborhood came out to show their respect because they said this is the only father that they knew. And as a son, you're like, you feel so special that you got to grow up in a household with a man like that to raise you. But then on the other side, as an adult, you say, wow, you wish your friends had that opportunity, have someone grow up in their house, treating them like this, a father figure to lead them. Like, I understand they saw my dad when he came over and he saw him in the neighborhood. He took care of them, gave them rides to school. I mean, he looked out. If you ever needed a meal, you come to our house. But when the kids got back to their house, there was no father figure, so no one to guide them. So they went down the wrong path. They got themselves in trouble. They went through teenage pregnancies. They went to jail because they didn't have that strong figure in their life. So you could be that figure. You don't have to be directly that child's parent, but you could be that strong teacher who doesn't get bow down to the woke mob. You can be that coach who tells the kid to push a little bit more. You can be that youth pastor. Hey, you can even be someone who sees it, cuts the guy's hair, and like, hey, how's school doing? Oh, you got to see what's wrong with you. There's so many ways you could influence and be a strong man and be a father figure. And because we have the best father on the planet, and our Father takes care of us, right? And our Father, Lord, looks out for us, right? So we can do the same for the children of this planet and the people of this world. It's just making a small effort.
Yeah, that's right, guys. And for me, Jarrett, growing up, there was always two very influential people in my life. Number one was my dad. Number one most influential person in my life was my dad. Number two, and this is something, hey, maybe you don't have kids right now. Maybe you will never have kids. You can still be, like Jarrett was saying, a father figure to other men, or to other young men, to other boys. The other strong role model in my life, and we still stay in contact to this day, was my coach, my football coach. And I wouldn't be where I am today without those two men. Obviously, my father had a big impact, but my coach had a still significant impact in my life. And I know he had an impact in many other young men's lives that didn't have dads as well. So maybe right now your calling isn't to have kids. Maybe right now your calling is just to pour into other men. And I talked with Adrian, Pastor Adrian Monhe, on a show we did last night. If you guys go back on our YouTube, you can check it out. But we talked about how do you find your calling? What is your calling? And this is interesting. Hear what Jarrett has to think about this too. But what I said was two things. One is you don't find your calling. Your calling finds you when you're in the middle of serving God. And number two is you don't always know, and most of the time you don't know, what your ultimate long-term calling is. But right now, your calling is whatever God's put in front of you, and just do that thing, because your calling isn't some far-off thing that you're imagining, and maybe eventually you'll get there. But your calling for right now is the things that are immediately in front of you, because your calling is very, very close to you.
Yeah, I 100% agree. When I was raised by my father, he used to tell me all the time, if you run for what God has from you, you're going to fall flat on your face. And too many times we're running from God's calling because we think we know better. We think we have the plan. It's funny that we had a Pastor Big on the other day. He was talking about how he was in the military. He wanted to retire, do 20 years, but God had different plans for him. Me in the same situation. I thought I could do 20 years, I had a cushy job. I got injured and I had to leave. But that led me down a path to where I am today. So God did have a different plan for me, but I didn't know better. I didn't know this was his plan. I thought I can tell God what I wanted. So, you just don't tell God what you want, do what he wants you to do, follow that plan, and all the doors will open. I have to admit, once I fully gave myself to the Lord and start honoring my calling, following the word, I mean, every door that I wanted to open has opened. And then some doors I never even thought of have opened for me. And that's because I'm doing what God wants me to do. And I just continue down the path. And sometimes you have no idea what you're doing. You go to a meeting, you're talking to somebody, like, oh, I know God wants me here. And you're there, but it leads to something fantastic. So trust in the Lord and have that faith that God will never steer you wrong. And also he will never give you too much that you can't handle. Some of the struggles you're going through are building you up to your next great journey.
Yeah. Love that. I have a good friend who says often that oftentimes what we think is a setback is just the setup for your comeback. And a lot of times we're looking at life in the face and we're like, man, the thing that the devil meant to destroy me is the very thing God's going to use to bring glory. The very thing that God's going to use in my life to refine me and make me the man that he's called me to be, but also allow me to have the impact that he's called me to have. So guys, men, I know we're speaking to men. That's because I'm a man. It's because Jarrett's a man. We're speaking to men more than women. That's okay. Lily was here for that earlier. And yes, thank you, Garrett, or Gerard, sorry. Guys, I want to thank you for watching. Hopefully you've been encouraged by our show. I do got to give a shout out to our sponsor here, Covenant Coffee. Thank you, Covenant Coffee, for supporting 511 Media Group. Thank you, Covenant Coffee, for what you're doing in our community in Bakersfield. Be in the hands of Jesus, guys. Go check them out, covenantcoffee.org, or if you're in Bakersfield, across the street from us, Mohawk, California, or on North Chester. And Jarrett, what do you have to add here?
Well, guy, I think it was a great show. I think it was necessary that we had this conversation with Lily. I mean, she truly is the voice of her generation. And also, as a millennial, we need to listen to Gen Z when they're telling us how they feel about things, because we're trying to get them to go down the right path, but we don't realize they're already trying to go down the right path. They just need some assistance, right? And also, a lot of stuff she talked about, take to heart. Think about it. Think about the stuff Mike said, stuff I said. And fathers, if I could leave you with anything, just being your child's life. You don't know how to be a father. You can learn how to be a father. It's not something you're born with. It's something you learn. I make mistakes. Mike makes mistakes. Every father makes mistakes. The most perfect father in the world makes mistakes. And you just get better and you try to be there for your children, but you have to be there. You have to be physically in their lives, and regardless of your relationship with women, regardless of what's going on, you have to be there, because we can't have another generation of broken children. They're already being attacked in school. They're being attacked on the internet. They're even being attacked with Disney. So they need someone to protect them, and that's your role, and that's your God-given role, and you need to honor that role, because God blessed you with that. And He could not have given you a kid. He could have, some people are struggling. Some people can't adopt, and you are blessed enough to raise another life. You need to honor that.
Amen. So, guys, hopefully you've been inspired and encouraged by the episode today. Guys, we're going to be back tomorrow. We're going to be talking about, we're going to have a fun show. It's going to be kind of a backstage kind of show. Casual conversation, talking about elections, talking about DNC, and all the craziness over there. Check it out. Tune in. Guys, thanks for watching. Have a great day. God bless.